Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Amira Sabina binti Azman. My matrix number is AA220872. Introduction. An inclined plane is a flat supporting tilted at an angle from a vertical direction. An object placed on a tilted surface will often slide down the surface. The rate at which the object slides down the surface depends on how tilted the surface is. The greater the tilt of the surface, the faster the rate at which an object will slide down. Incline is when something is tilted so that one end is higher than the other. Plane is anything that is wide and flat, like a piece of wood. The normal force of an inclined force is not directed towards the object. The normal force is always directed upwards against the force of gravity. In inclined plane, the normal force is not always directed outwards, but always directed perpendicular to the surface at which the object is located. The net force on an object is the total force acting on it. If a net force is detected on an object, it will have an acceleration. When determining the net of force of an object, it is recommended to separate the force of gravity into components. The weight on the inclined plane can be resolved in the x and y components. These components are also called parallel and perpendicular components. When the angle of the inclination is identified, it is more likely to determine the force. The equation for parallel and perpendicular component is fx equal m times g times sine theta and fy equal m times g times cos theta. Without friction and other force, the acceleration of an object on an incline is the value of the parallel component m times g times sine theta divided by the mass. This results in an equation in the absence of friction and other force.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Namiza Afrika binti Muhammad Musin. My metric number is AA221520. Inclined plane has been used since ages ago by Egyptians in order to build the pyramids. Not only that, the Stonehenge has also been built by using the concept of inclined plane. This means inclined plane has made it easier for many people to build things or solve their problem. Inclined plane has two types: frictionless inclined plane and inclined plane with friction. For frictionless inclined plane, we use the equation of MA equals Fw per Fi equals 1 per sin theta, while inclined plane with friction uses the equation of Ff equals mu Fn. To calculate an inclined plane, the equation that we use is F equals W sin theta. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. I from Group 1 would like to share the result we got from the inclined plane experiment we did. We have obtained 3 results from experiment we have done. The first result is that we measure the force used to pull the load when no inclined plane is used. As a result, we get 0.5 Newton of force used to pull the load. The next result is the force used to pull the load when the length of the inclined plane is 26 cm while the head of the inclined plane is 12 cm. The force used to pull the load on the inclined plane is 1.2 Newton. The final result is that the force used to pull the load on the inclined plane has a length of 20 cm and a height of 22 cm. We find that the force used to pull the load on the inclined plane is 1.6 Newton. In conclusion, we found that there is some relationship between the height and length of the inclined plane and the force used. The first is that the height of the inclined plane increase, but with the length of the inclined plane fixed, more force is required to pull the load. The opposite happens when the value of the head of the inclined plane is constant, but the value of the length of the inclined plane increase will reduce the force used to pull the load. As the length on and head of the inclined plane increase at the same rate, the force acting on the object increase at a constant rate. This proves that the head of the inclined plane is directly proportional to the applied force, while the length of the inclined plane is inversely proportional to the applied force. That's all I can share from the result we got. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Izul Hafiz bin Mas Azri and my number matrix is AA221156. Discussion. The purpose of this experiment is to determine the force required to move an object when the angle of the plane is different. We did this experiment several times by changing the angle of the plane, but use the same object which the weight is same, and find out the force required to move an object for each different angle. Based on the result we got, a large angle cause the force required to move the object is high, but when the plane is in the horizontal position, which the angle is 0, the force needed to move the object is little. So, angle cause either the object to be moved or stationary. From the result we got, the existing theory can be accepted and used where the angle affects the force required to move the object, even the object is same weight. Not only that, we also found that there are other factors that affects the force required to move an object. For example, friction is also one of the factors that cause the object to be stationary. If the friction of the plane is high, the force required is also high, but when the friction of the plane is low, so the force needed to move the object is low. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Fatia Zulaika Bintang Fauzi. My matrix number is AA222139. Today I would like to talk about conclusion. The inclined plane friction experiment, the relationship between the normal force and the friction force was determined, as well as how to use the surface at various angles and the force required to move an object on the surface to determine the coefficient of friction between two objects. By using the angles of the surface and the mass of the block, we can calculate the relationship between the normal force and the friction force. To analyze the problem more deeply, more tests must be done using different apparatus and block materials, as well as more accurate measuring device. Although error may occur, without consistent experimental trends, it can be concluded that the surface area of the block in a contact to the surface plane has no effect on the coefficient of friction and the angle required for the block to slide down.